Now, COVID is kind of in the distant memory now, but you've announced today that Australian mums and newborns will have free access to the best vaccine to prevent the RSV virus ahead of winter 2025. What's behind this move?
Well, you mentioned COVID. COVID was overwhelmingly an illness that afflicted older Australians. RSV is overwhelmingly an illness that hits the youngest members of our community. So this year, for example, we've seen about 160,000 cases of RSV recorded over the course of this winter. Fully half of them were under 4-year-olds. It really hits under 2-year-olds very, very hard. It's the leading cause of hospitalisation for babies. And today I'm absolutely delighted to be able to announce one of the world's most comprehensive vaccination and protection programs for Australia's babies. We think about 12,000 babies are hospitalised every year, every winter through RSV. The leading cause, as I said, of hospitalisation, about a quarter of them end up in ICU. This program I'm announcing today, we think will cut that hospitalisation rate by up to 90%, a huge win for families and for babies.
I wanted to ask about this COVID inquiry the other week. A lot of people were a bit underwhelmed by this, that the states weren't put under the blowtorch a bit more, and the chief recommendation seemed to be a Labor election promise in 2022, a Centre for Disease Control. Shouldn't that be pretty much up and running by now?
Well, we waited to hear the lessons and the recommendations of the COVID inquiry before finalising our design of the Centre of Disease Control. But I think you need to look deeper into this report, Andrew. It really is a very comprehensive, measured, sensible report that does examine a range of the decisions that state governments were taking. Right through the report in particular, there is very detailed commentary about the mental health impacts and broader impacts on children and younger Australians of a range of decisions that were taken around school closures, around who could attend playgrounds and so much more besides. So this commentary that they didn't think about the decisions taken by state governments just doesn't bear out a reading of the inquiry report. It doesn't pull its punches at all. And I think the most important thing of a range of findings I think that it makes, the most important one is that here in Australia we didn't shift at the time we should from essentially a precautionary approach, which was appropriate in the first few months of the pandemic, to a more evidence-based approach to decision-making, an approach that balanced the benefits and the risks associated with a particular decision, and also took account of those non-COVID risks, as I said, particularly mental health impacts, given the scale of the decision-making on people's freedoms and ability to go about their usual lives. And that was, I think, a very profound finding of the inquiry, which then went on to say that the lack of that shift and the lack of transparency around decision-making has led to a very serious erosion of trust among the community, which means that if a pandemic like COVID happened again next week, that we would be unlikely to get the sort of cooperation from the community that we had to things like lockdowns and school closures that was so central to our pandemic response.